Well, we're over here by Pond 5. There's Mr. Quacker's. And we're going to go down to the western edge of the first food forest and see how things are developing down here. Mr. Quackers, you're such a good boy. He's got a pair of mallards that keep flying in here and a pair of geese that come into this pond. And that's a killdeer. So last week, so today is April 27th, 2021. The sun is popping out, which is kind of a beautiful miracle. This is an area that I haven't worked on in 2 years. So this is predominantly almond trees. So these are Hall's hardy almond trees here. And you can see the flowers, these little pink flowers, are just starting to open. I think I probably have 30 different trees here. I've got some started inside, and you can see all the weeds growing up around as well. So this is one of the small ones here. Really beautiful flowers. I've got lots of pruning to do on these. And we do have, these are blueberry bushes in between them as well. And these blossoms just opened in the last couple of days, the last 3 days. Last week we had a very hard freeze. This is an apple tree here. This is a pawpaw here. That's a Russian mulberry right there. More blueberries in here. I don't know who's inside of this one here. This may be one of the replacements I put in this fall. And here are a few of our almonds right here. And their blossoms are okay at this point because they've opened up after the hard freeze. So frost, we get down to 32 degrees Fahrenheit around here, and it can do damage to some of the new growth on certainly the vegetable plants, but most of the perennial plants it really doesn't affect too much. But the first ones to flower out around here are our cherries, our plums. So this is a plum tree right here. This is a thorny plum. And I've got some pruning to do with this thorny plum. Let's see if you can see the flowers on this one. But we had a freeze that was down to probably 28 degrees Fahrenheit for about 4 to 5 hours. And that damages this is another Russian mulberry here. The pears some of the pears flower pretty early, and the cherries flower pretty early as well. I don't know about these ones, we'll have to see. I didn't get over here when we had the morning after the frost. I tried shooting some video, but it was so dark and so windy that all the audio was just terrible. And one of our Asian pears is in full flower right over here as well. Gosh, if you love apples and pears, well, you'll go nuts over the Asian pears. They're like a combination of the two as far as taste goes. And we have these two varieties. We actually have 3 varieties of Asian pears, but they flower pretty darn early. This is all before they set their leaves. And you can see some of the honeybees right here right now. Hopefully you can see them. This is another one of our Asian pears over here. They were a little bit small last year in the drought, but boy, they were delicious. The peaches are just starting to open their blossoms now, so the peaches weren't affected by the heavy frost, the deep freeze. Here's one of the, so plums and their cultivars, like this is an apricot plum cross here. So this one, you know, I don't know that these will actually produce fruit this year. They haven't in the past, but this one had such a serious frost, but it doesn't look damaged at all. And you can see some of the honeybees out here right now on here. I'm hoping you could see it. It's starting to warm up a little bit here. Now that's a large flowering pear in the background over there. This is another one of the apricot plum crosses here. You can see the bees are all out right now. Beautiful. I'll go around and walk in front of the hives to see how they're doing. Oh, the aroma is really wonderful here as well. And here's a cherry in blossom. Of course, the apple, most of the apples aren't doing it yet. This is another apricot plum cross as well. You can see the red magnolia. The pink magnolias have already been in full bloom. Our white magnolias have. So it's nice to see some of the red magnolias. And that's one I just transplanted this season. And boy, it's just the buzz out here. I'm just loving the sound and the smell. And the temperature's coming up. So I think it's about 48 degrees right now. Here's another one of the peaches. Blossoms are just starting to open now. The bees are just wonderful here. Here's a cherry right here. Now a lot of these blossoms are still opening, so we might be able to get fruit as long as we don't have any big freezes. Lots and lots of bee activity here now. Two of our cherries over there I don't think we're going to get much fruit off of because their buds, their flowers really started looking war-torn afterwards. Here's another plum, another cherry here. This is one I'm saving from the deer rub that we had. There's a plum here. Gosh, I love seeing all the bees out here. Oh, this is beautiful. This is what life is all about right here, by golly. And of course, here's just wonderful. And we'll go over there next, but I just want to go around and we'll look at the hives real quick since my brother had been asking for an update on them. So in front of the honey hut here is one of our pink magnolias. I got to do some pruning here. Oh yeah, the bees are, the sun is out. This is gorgeous. And of course the dandelions are out as well. This is absolutely gorgeous. They're all over the place today. Oh, lots and lots of pollen down there. I know the GoPro doesn't really show us that much, unfortunately. It doesn't give you any of the nice close-ups. But this is beautiful. This is what I live for right here. Watching my babies. So now we already walked over in the western side here. So we got Asian pears, cherries, plums, red buds, apples, and ginkgos, honey locusts, high bush cranberries, a whole variety of different species over here. Several different apple types, several different pear types. Here's one of the pears, and I've got to get to pruning these. You can see these buds are not open yet. But it's nice to have the succession, each different fruit tree within close proximity of each other, coming into with the flowers opening and exposing the nectar and the pollen for the bees and other beneficial insects. So here's one of the cherries here. Really beautiful. One of the peaches here, it's a blushing star. This is one of my favorite plums. These are small plums, but and you're able to see some of the bees activity around here. So the bees are doing just wonderfully here. Now this is one that leans in, so that's why I've got the board there holding it up against it. I put that up last season. And here are, so down in here, these are all red currants in this area. Hostaberries, the deer have just decimated them. They just love them like I do. This is the area back here where I took out some of the raspberry plants. I still have more work to do. I've got to work on the pads underneath, create pads underneath the solar panels over here. And see, these flowers aren't open yet, but the bees are constantly coming back here to check them out. So these are the black currants. Pretty nice sized black currants. They do great. And more, these are all peaches here, and the blossoms are starting to open. We have lots of varieties of peaches, apples, pears, not as many varieties of plums. So this peach is wide open now. Lots of bees here, beautiful. So this is all in the first food forest here. And unfortunately, a lot of our, the deer kept getting into this increased elevation. I made a video about raising the level of the blueberry protection and the nets and all, but they have just torn through this netting this winter and this spring as well, unfortunately. The apples just starting to leaf out now. And of course, I'm very bad. I haven't gotten to doing all the pruning. I didn't collect the scions. You can see the comfrey is starting to come up down below. You can see there's horseradish starting to come up as well. So that's horseradish there. There's comfrey here, comfrey all over. Horseradish right up over there. Kevin's very bad about taking care of his fruit trees and pruning them appropriately. This is a nice, I think this is a Bartlett here, pear. So these blossoms are just starting to open now. But we had a very warm spell, followed by a very cold period. Dark and gloomy, not so nice. On the other side of the canal system over there are the another pink magnolia over there. Boy, I hear so these are all cherries right in here except for another mulberry right there. And so you just hear the buzz. And it's probably not showing up, but there's just hundreds and hundreds of bees here. And it's so amazing. When I see this, I just say it's all worth it. I'm sure these are so small you can't even appreciate them on this video. And of course the wildlife that are here, from the small microscopic species to the big Canada geese and deer, especially when the deer aren't chewing everything up around here. So let's go up towards the second food forest and see what we got there. It's actually the sun coming out, my God. Feels like it's 50 degrees. I'm going to take my big coat off here on the way up. get all excited about spring here. I got my vest open now. I've been potting up tomato plants and broccoli and cauliflower, and Thea got broccoli and cauliflower in the garden the other day. Now they're real cold tolerant to broccoli and cauliflower, so getting them into the soil as soon as possible is always beneficial. Some of the cats taking little dust baths in the driveway. One of our first cherries to flower is this weeping flowering cherry over here. What you doing, Timmy? Handsome boy? You good boy? You little dust ball, you. Oh, the sun's out. Enjoy life. So I did get to prune all but 2 of the blackberry plants over here. The deer had really wiped out a lot of them. You can see some of them laying on their side somewhat. But they're starting to leaf out right now. I got to get over here and work in this area some. Well, actually, let's take a walk up this spot here. So the reason Bumblebee is there right now is I transplanted 2 of the service berries. So these are dwarf apples. I'm not going to get any more dwarf species anymore. They're just too easy for the deer to take care of and don't get big enough for me to benefit from. So these are, we have 4 different varieties of service berries, and all the labels came off all of them. 2 of them actually died, so I transplanted this one and used mycorrhizal fungi for that one, and that one over there as well. But you can see some of them are really bushing out nicely. Apple here. This is a flowering cherry where all the buds are drying up. This is some of the pruning that I did with this. I got a lot of picking up to do. Apples, pecan, black currant, another apple, another black currant, a cherry right here. Not too much activity with the bees with the cherry on this one here. Another black currant at my feet. Red maple, or a crimson maple. I really love the crimsons. Another cherry, another apple, sand cherry that I made into like a tree-like form. Another apple, another pecan, flowering pear, service berries all in these cages around here. Lupine is starting to come up. I've got to reseed the whole area and get more lupine all in here. I did pick up a load of sawdust, so I'll be using some of that hopefully in this area as well. And so we got pecans right in here, honey locust, another peach right here by the maple, and not too much flowering in this area right here, except for a couple of pears down here flowering, which is really nothing much to look at. We'll come up here, and again, this is another peach. The buds are just starting to open on this one. One of my favorite peaches is over here. I have so many favorite peaches. Gosh, I just love peaches. These are all the hazelnuts, 2 rows of hazelnuts going down over here. I haven't finished sheet mulching them yet. I got a lot of work to do over there. There are red buds, pears, and are there any cherries in here? Mostly apples, a flowering cherry up there next to the grapevines. And here we have a service berry. This is one that's a couple years older than the other ones, or Juneberry some people call them. The bees are on them, but they're not as heavily as they were with all the rest of the ones in the other food forests. Here's a peach. This is the peach that I love so much. This produces small peaches, but they got a nice wow factor. An apple, which I got to prune. Another service berry here. Really, really nice, and they're more like bushes. So this is one of the jobs. So this area I'm changing some. So this was a large area where I always did the very large composting piles and all. And the material would gradually work its way down the slope here, and I had raspberries planted all the way around from right about here all the way around, and I had plenty of room. I had about 7 feet for the mower to get down into the wetter area down there, and that actually was a great vernal pool as well. So some of these swales do a really good job as acting like vernal pools. Oh geez, hold on one moment please. So the vernal pools are very good for all of the various invertebrates and the small amphibians, some small clams, freshwater clams as well, the newts, the salamanders, the tree frogs, the toads. They'll go into these areas. I just cleaned it all out. I took out all the raspberry bushes earlier this spring. Because what ended up happening was, as sediment filled in these areas where the swale was, the soil kept getting deeper and thicker and thicker. So I had about a foot of really rich soil that was pretty much like a bog. And then I had an area where where I kept mounding up the raspberry plants that were in a row about here. And the raspberry plants, as they kept growing, they produced more and more soil because of the gradual taper runoff. So as a form of bioremediation, everything that came from the composting system would work its way down into the swales. The swales would work their way over into the ponds and down into the bioremediation, the soil collecting canal system, which goes around the house and down around the eastern garden bed. Then from there, whatever was still suspended in the water would make its way into the bioremediation canals and be biotransformed into their most basic elements and inorganic and organic products. So really a good way of dealing with non-point sources of pollution that you'd see on farms. But one of the side effects was it made everything grow like crazy here. So the weeds and the grass all grew up amongst the raspberry bushes. So it was just too much nutrients going into this area before it got into the sediment collecting system. So I pulled out all those raspberry plants and dug it out and spread the area out and put a lot of soil. I'll show you where we put some of the soil up there. But the whole raspberry patch went all the way around. Now there is a swale up here, and so here's all the grapevines. I gotta come up here and finish pruning. And then we have all of the various flowering crab apples and pears, and then we have chestnuts, pecans, what are heart nuts, very English walnuts and all, catawba trees, all of those all along in here, and comfrey and a whole bunch of different ones before you get to all the blue spruce that are along the road edge there. So the swale system acts as vernal pools all along in here. They drain down into this swale system, which backfed up into, and it grew so much sediment that I was able to get all that soil, and we moved it up into places that were low, up here into the third food forest. So not much is leafed out up here yet. The flowering crab apples haven't really gone into full bloom yet, so we won't spend any time here. But you could see the plums, and these were all fully flowered out when we had 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Here are some of the, these are the black currants in here. I've got red buds. I don't remember what's in this tree tube here, but this is one of the plums. And this one, I think, was pretty significantly affected by the frost. So this one was already fully flowered out. And This peach wasn't flowered out yet, but this plum was fully flowered out. We can see our currants. We've got some peaches, some new peaches started down in here. The Jerusalem artichokes planted all along in here. You can see they look like sticks laying over here in the wind. Here is a row of gooseberries along in this area here. This is the garlic patch right here. We have 2 beds of garlic, one 3 rows and one 2 rows. And I got to come up here and do a little bit of weeding. And if I can get around to it, put a new water line up here so I can irrigate these guys if we have another severe drought like this last year, which was just too much. And here are our shallots, 3 rows of shallots going down here. Here we have so we've got a plum right here, a couple of apples, an evergreen, and then we have several peaches that I planted up here, of the ones that I started from seed. So we'll end up seeing just how they do. But last year when we harvested our leeks, and you can see the wind just blew all the tree protectors off, but this one's still viable. I'll have to put another tree protector on this one. Here's another one of our peaches. It's one of our blushing star seeds that came from a blushing star, but it won't necessarily produce a true to the parentage. But these right here are all the leeks. So when I harvested the leeks, I'll try to remember to put a link to the video, but if you search for our leeks in 2020, you'll see that I saved the very bottoms of them, just stuck them up here and threw some leaves over them. Didn't really do very much, so I got several leeks that we'll be able to collect seed from this year. More flowering pears, honey locusts, catabla, flowering pears, and we got plums. And so this is another area over here that I was working on yesterday. Another couple of apples. We'll look at these from the side. It's one of the things about the winds up here. And here I got one of our native elderberries right here. And some of these guys, if you look at them, they're all tilted, leaning way over on this direction. And so this is another area that I'm working on the last couple days. And we've been down into this area. Here's pond 1 over here. And we put benches here. Thea gets up to the benches. Oh, there's one of our little garter snakes. And Jim, this is the pond where your goldfish are. So they're doing okay in here. I don't see them right now. And pond 2, they're doing really well as well. And down here we can see lots of frog eggs. You probably can't see it, but lots of frog eggs down here. See some of the 2nd-year tadpoles from bullfrogs over there. And if I had the time and some good high boots, I'd go walking in some of the vernal pools so we can see the clusters of the salamander eggs, the wood frog eggs, and all. This is such an exciting time of year. Another one of our magnolias here. And so I actually stand all of my trees and point them a little bit to the west, because the wind's out of the west takes them and twists them right in the other direction, just like all the blue spruces going down the road there as well. So I think that shows the majority of the fruit trees that are in bloom right now. It seems like just about none of the apples are opening their flower buds yet. They're just starting to get their leaves out at this point. So that's pretty good, pretty interesting. And the drought really affected our walnuts here, because I transplanted them the 2019 fall, and of course 2020 was the worst drought. And unfortunately, I was in such a rush, I didn't inoculate the soil at that time with mycorrhizal for the roots and all. But you can see, here's our Jerusalem artichokes. just breaking off. So they're down in here. And of course, that's where all the little rodents will be going after those now and harvesting them. So it's spring here at Mindful Living Sanctuary. So if you found this video of value, give us a thumbs up. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. And certainly, folks, take care of yourselves. Get out there in nature. It's the best medicine in life. Bye-bye now.